I am Kathy Lindenbaum. I am the 2019-2021 president. I will be your president till July 30th, and then we will have a new president on July 1st. I just wanted to say that how we're going to work tonight is we're going to play the recording that we have explaining everything, and then we will come on for live Q&A. We have a small group right now. So if it's a small group, we can unmute and just have a chat. We'll introduce ourselves then. If it gets a little bit larger, then we'll have to just have more of a decorum where we'll put stuff in the chat box. If you have any questions as we go along, you want to put them in the chat box so you don't forget, be my guest and do that. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce Rob Bachara. He is our board and director of board and member services. He's going to start the video, and then we'll do introductions at the end.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Bowe, and I am Procedures and Bylaws Chairman for New Jersey PTA. Some of you may recognize my name because I've had conversations with you or emails, and I've certainly sent many of you bylaws over the past 2 years. This year at New Jersey PTA's convention on May 23rd, we will be proposing something sort of exciting. We are proposing that New Jersey's PTAs all have uniform bylaws. As we all know, things never stay the same. The only thing constant in our lives is change. And we at New Jersey PTA foresee this as a very good thing for our locals. So what do uniform bylaws mean for your PTA? They mean, number one, you'll no longer have to review and renew your bylaws. As you may know, right now, every 3 years, you have to go through the process of looking through your bylaws and see if there's anything you want to change, and then change it, then present those changes to your general membership, get them adopted by your general membership, send them to New Jersey PTA for approval, and there's the process as it currently stands. Over the years, there have been many changes to the bylaws. In other words, there used to be many more things, many more variables that you could change in them. Anymore, we only have 6 changes that you can actually make. Most of the language in your bylaws is fixed and set. You cannot change. There are currently only 6 items that you can change. Number one, your PTA's name, the council that you belong to, your address, and your identifying numbers, your EIN, your state identification number, your incorporation number, and your charity's registration number. The other items you can change, another item you can change is the date your general membership is adopted, must adopt your bylaws. Number 3, the amount you charge your members for dues. Number 4, the month in which you hold your officer elections. Number 5, the length of your officer terms and if they are staggered or elected in the same year. Number 6, the quorum you need for your general membership meetings. All these items will now be in your standing rules. So in the uniform bylaws that New Jersey PTA is proposing, we are going to have minimums in there. You must have, your officers can have 1 or 2 terms, 1 or 2 year terms. You must have a minimum of 3 general membership meetings. You must have a minimum of 10 meetings, 10 board of directors meetings for a school year. So anything you have over those minimums that we're stating in the bylaws, you will put those numbers in your standing rules. So along with those changes, we will have, of course, standing rules. If some of you don't already have them, we are going to give you a sample of standing rules or somewhat of a template that you can follow if you don't have standing rules. If you already have standing rules, you can by all means use them as they exist. There are a few items that we need you to add to them though. So why are we making this change? Number one, to take the renewal and the review and renewal process off of your plate every 3 years. We think that because we feel that because there are so few things you can change in your bylaws now, it really doesn't make sense to have to renew them every 3 years. The other really good reason is that standing rules are a much more useful tool for your PTA. Bylaws, yes, they are a tool for your PTA, and yes, you have to abide by them. You cannot deviate from them. But standing rules, as I would like to describe, bylaws are an overview of how every PTA should run, but standing rules are a procedure book or a playbook for how your particular PTA runs. So when I mean that they're a very useful tool for your PTA, in other words, they will be a tool that somebody can, if consider it this way, if somebody were to, if all your board of directors were to leave tomorrow and abandon your PTA, and a whole new set of people came in that knew nothing about how your PTA is run, they could pick up your standing rules and see exactly how you did it last year. That's how I like to see standing rules. That's how detailed I would like to see standing rules be. Now, it's up to you totally whether you want to make your PTA's standing rules detailed or not. But for them to be a really, really useful tool for you, they should be sort of detailed. So they're very good for a PTA. Why? As I described here on the screen here, they should be considered an overall procedure book for your PTA. They also provide continuity for your PTA. In other words, from year to year, there's things on your PTA that I'm sure this has happened to you because it's happened to me on many PTAs. Well, what did we do last year? How did we handle that? Who decided what on this particular thing last year? And things like that aren't necessarily always written down, especially if you're not very good at keeping committee procedure books. And many times we've had to go back in like a treasurer's book, the financial records of the last year, to see what was spent when and where and by whom. So they are a document where things like this would be written. So they'll provide continuity from year to year. Standing rules. Oh, another great thing about standing rules is they do not need to be submitted to New Jersey PTA for approval. You are going to create your standing rules. Your board of directors is going to get together and decide what your standing rules are going to be. You're going to definitely present them to your general membership for adoption, because they, in there, don't forget, we're putting your dues now in standing rules. They're no longer going to be in bylaws. So your members need to know those 6 things that are variable now in your bylaws. They need to be aware of those 6 things. They need to be aware if you're changing those things. The month that you're electing your officers, the terms of your officers, the dues amount, your quorum amount. Those are things that your general membership has to approve. And we, of course, like I said, you do not have to submit them to New Jersey PTA for approval, but New Jersey PTA does want you to send them to us, because we want to keep a record of them. We want to keep a copy on file for our purposes. If we ever needed to help you in any way, we would refer to your standing rules to see what you have written in them. So we don't need to approve them, but we do need you to send us a copy of them whenever you update. Now, this all might sound sort of daunting. We're getting rid of something, and many people are adverse to change, but change, don't look at it as a bad thing. We're changing things to make them better for you. So don't let standing rules frighten you. If you don't already have them, we are here to help you with them. And like I said, we're going to be sending out a sample and a sort of template that you can follow. We will be here to help you. At the end of this tutorial here, we will be going live that we can answer questions, and all along, I'm hoping, I should have mentioned this sooner, but to put things in the chat box, questions that you have, because we will be going live at the end of this. So and we're hoping that they definitely are passed, when uniform bylaws are passed on May 21st at Leadership Convention, New Jersey PTA will be here for you, answer questions regarding standing rules, assist with developing, creating your standing rules. And of course, we're going to be here. The office is always open all summer. And as you know, we are all volunteers, and volunteers never really are off duty. So yeah, we're here for you. Yeah, this is a slide just telling you that this is the way we used to do it, bake sales. And like I said, change is a good thing, right? Thank you.
Okay, so now I would like to open up the floor for questions. And I do want to make a couple of introductions. We do have Mary Scout on here tonight. She is our parliamentarian for New Jersey PTA. Also from the New Jersey PTA team, I'm just going in the order I see everyone. Candy Fredericks, She is region director right now, but will be your incoming 2021-2023 president. We have Sharon Roseborough, who will be, she is VP of Leadership Development and will be the incoming vice president, the incoming president-elect. We have Rob Achara again. I introduced him before, but he is the Director of Board and Member Services. We have Lisa Falco, Region Director, incoming Vice President. These will all be elected. We do not have anyone running against them. Sorry about my dogs. And we have Rosa Chara, Federal Legislative Chair and immediate past president. So now if anyone has any questions, please unmute so we can answer questions.
Hi, Kathy. My name is Janelle Timby. I'm the PTA president at McGinn Elementary School in Scotch Plains.
Okay.
My
Hi,
dog
thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. My dog heard yours, so you might hear too.
Sorry, I apologize for that.
It's the virtual world that we're living in right now.
Yes.
So just so I understand, how would you like our standing rules to be submitted? Is it just in the form of an email? Are we going to get directions about where to send it and how?
Well, the way we're talking about it now is we're going to upload it, if that's the correct word, instead of download, to Member Hub. There'll be a site in there. Rob, correct me if that's wrong, but I think that's what we spoke about.
That is correct. Just like now, where there's a Dropbox to submit bylaws every 3 years, and you may not have seen that because you haven't had to submit bylaws in the last 3 years. When you log into Member Hub, and there's going to be a new compliance document page for all PTAs, there'll be a tab for standing rules. So not only we can see your standing rules, but then once you upload them there, your other officers will also be able to see them. And then year after year, when you guys leave, God forbid anyone leaves and doesn't hand over documents, old documents will all now be stored on this compliance document manager where things can be updated through the years.
Okay, great. And they only, so for instance, we have our first general membership meeting in September at the start of the school year. So only if we change something, do we have to have them approved by our general, by our members, or is that something that we have to do annually, irregardless?
Can you repeat that? I apologize. My dog was barking so loud I couldn't hear anything.
It's okay. So we have our first general membership meeting in September. So this next September, for instance, I will present them then to whoever attends that meeting, or should I put it in a newsletter to everyone who receives our weekly e-blasts? How do we present it, annually then?
I would definitely let your members know. So when you get your committee together, you go over it for your September meeting. When you give out notice of your meetings, definitely let them know that, obviously it has to be, if this passes, that, there's been a revision of local PTA bylaws, and now we have to approve our standing rules, which is how we run our PTA, however you want to word that, and just let the members know so that they know, that might have some people that, normally wouldn't come to your meeting, but at least you're, letting everyone know what you're doing at your meeting. So that notice I would give out. It's not going to be mandatory, but I would definitely give out that notice.
So then the following year, the next September, and here comes my dog, the next September, if nothing changes in our standing rules, do I need to bring them once again to that first general membership meeting for everyone to approve? Or if nothing changes, then they just remain consistent from year to year?
Well, if nothing changes, you don't have to reapprove them, but I would, make them available for your members to see.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Could I interject for a second?
Absolutely, Lisa.
I think that two things, that once convention is over and we hit June 1st, New Jersey PTA will definitely be putting together some training sessions on how to write standing rules, what the template means, what you can and can't or should or shouldn't put in standing rules. So we're not just going to leave you high and dry. There'll be lots of help throughout the summer, moving towards that September meeting where many PTAs are going to approve their first ever set of standing rules. Locals that already have standing rules, they don't have to change them. They can use those standing rules as long as they fit the current basics in the current template. So there'll be lots of help. There'll be lots of instruction. It's a kind of a learning process for all of us. And I think to address if your standing rules are not going to change, somewhat like the bylaws, many times 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, they didn't change one word, but you still want to just represent them at the beginning of each year, especially with standing rules, because now they're going to really govern the operation day to day of your PTA, and you're going to have new people coming in all the time as chair people and officers. So you want everybody to know these are the current rules, and standing rules are a little more flexible for being changed than bylaws were. And that'll all be gone over in the training sessions. So there'll be lots of assistance, and don't hesitate to ever ask, because again, it's new to you guys, it's new to us. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve starting out, but we'll definitely get there. And obviously we're proposing it because we do feel that it's the best thing for our local units at this point in time.
And Kathy, this is Mary.
Okay, Mary?
And members should always have access to your bylaws and your standing rule sets of basic documents that every member should have access to. Doesn't mean you have to give them a hard copy, but they should be able to access it if they want to.
Next, anyone else with a question?
Hi guys, this is Selma from Montclair, Buzz Aldrin Middle School. Just a quick question. Should we then save, because my question was specifically about the content and certain requirements of the current requirements of the bylaws that might become a part of standing rules. So really a content question. So should I save that for the summer, or should we bring it up?
No,
right
you
now?
can ask now. We could answer questions. If it's something that would go, we would have to answer later on, I'll let you know, but shoot, ask your questions.
Yeah, we actually may have had this conversation before. We have noticed a tremendous uptick in the number of parents that are attending PTA meetings this year due to usage of Zoom and being in a virtual world. And I know that PTA bylaws originally have stated that all the meetings have to be in person. So I wanted to see, and I know the reason that we are having these meetings virtually is because we had to get the special dispensation, and there had to be like the special meetings to allow PTAs to use virtual platform for official business. So I wanted to see if there was going to be any sort of change in that respect, and if we as a PTA can change our standing rules to say that we will have both virtual and in-person meetings to allow greater input from our members and more parents to participate.
That's going to be a change that'll be in our state bylaws, that you will be allowed to have virtual meetings.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Also in the
And if
local
you-
bylaws.
Yeah, and in the local, and you also could put in your standing rules, and we could go more into verbiage, if it passes, how you want to conduct those virtual meetings, like how your voting is going to go. That all could go in, whatever's not in the bylaws, that could go into your standing rules.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That is really such good news. We have never had so many people come to our meetings, and it's been truly amazing.
Well, that's great. I'm
Continue.
glad to, I always like to say, we always got to find some good in things that might not be so good. So at least, we were able to see that, a lot more parents are going to participate, and hopefully that will be the trend, and it'll keep it that way.
And hopefully the indication that they want to participate, and this made it a little easier for them to do so within their world. Hopefully that translates then into when we are in person at things and going back to, family night where there's 300 people in a room, that a good portion of those people who now have heard and participated in the business of the PTA will actually come out physically and help us also, because that's always been a big problem. You know, the same 12 people are always looking at each other, so to speak, planning everything and being there and cleaning up and setting up. So hopefully it translates to that too, because, you know, heaven knows, with everybody's ready to be back face to face doing a lot of things now. And hopefully that's one of them, because we all know the benefit of numbers, number one, but also of when kids see their parents, especially physically, at a place volunteering, doing good work. That's what's teaching the next generation to be volunteers. And they don't get to see that a lot with the pace of the world that we live in, and especially over the past year or so being tied to the electronic device. But it's a great way to model volunteerism, and hopefully that's, you know, what'll happen. People will still want to come, knowing they don't have to come in person to every single meeting and every single thing, that there are options. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
And did anyone else? I thought I saw someone else unmuting before. Oh, hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Hetty DiCarlo. I am from the Bayville School PTA. I'm the secretary and I'm running unopposed for treasurer. And also this year we're restructuring where we have a lot of committee chair people and we're breaking down tasks like that. So I had a couple quick questions, hopefully. I know that Mary had said, as far as the new standing rules being available, such as in member hub to our general membership. My question would be, being that we're breaking off into so many committees, as a matter of fact, I'll be heading our bylaws committee. Before we even knew about this rule change, we had actually made a bylaw committee, which will be my committee. So my question is, should our committee procedure books also be included in a spot on member hub, or will they sort of be incorporated into the standing rules now? Should we figure out a way to put those procedures in there?
Well, you don't want, you know, this is just my opinion. So of course it's up to your local, but I would put, you know, the majority of the stuff that all your committees are going to do in your standing rules, and then still have a procedure book also for that committee. Does anyone else want to chime in?
I would say that your standing rules would be things that, like Kathy said, govern all committees. Like you can be a committee chair for 2 years in a row, and then unless no successor is found, that committee gets turned over to the next group, whoever that is. You could put in your standing rules a very generic description of what the book fair chairperson does and the time frame that it happens in, and the fact that they report before their event, report during their event, and give their summary report after their event. But all those other details, like in March, you call the Scholastic Book Fair person, and then right after you have the date, you coordinate with the building principal, the classroom schedule, that would go in the procedure book. So again, it's like they work hand in hand also.
That's great. And Lisa, I know that you said that there's going to be some workshops for us.
Yep.
Have you heard anything? I mean, I realize it has to still technically be passed, but have you heard anything about when the first template will go out, or will we hear about the workshops and that at the same time?
Yeah, we're not quite ready to commit to a date yet.
Yeah, I can
But the-
understand.
but the
template is established, right? The
Yes.
template is established. So, you know, we went that far and then decided that let's see what happens, and then we'll get into fast mode and get some dates out there and get it to everybody and tell you what we're going to do, send the template out so you can start to become familiar with it even before we meet, those kind of.
We didn't want to overwhelm everyone and send out information and confuse people. So we figured we would do it this way, but we are ready to go. So as soon as if this passes, and we will get dates out there and get those to you guys and get the template out there, and then you can look it over and then ask your questions.
That's awesome. And I had one really quick, very probably stupid question, but I know that you guys are the ones to ask.
No questions are stupid.
Well, I have the whole like PTA here now, so I know that I can get a good answer. Are there any rules guiding us as far as term limits? I know they should be 1 or 2 years, but are we okay, for instance, to change our treasurer from a 2-year term to a 1-year term?
Well, right now that would be a bylaws change. So for this year, you would have to go with your old, your bylaws that are now. But my suggestion is that you keep all the offices on the same track. So if it's all should be one, they all should be one, all two. So it could be 1 year with a 1 year renewal, 2 years with a 2 year renewal. That's how we do it. I have not, Rose, Mary, any input on that about, having some offices serve 1 year and some serve 2 years?
I do know that some PTAs have had staggered terms, just to always keep someone that knows what's going on in the PTA. But I also am now married to our parliamentarian. With the change that we're proposing, would a staggered term still going to be something that we would encourage?
I don't think it matters. I don't think where it is. I mean, it's now going to move to the standing rules, but the reason for having a staggered term or different terms isn't any different than when it was in the bylaws. So I will tell you that Robert says that when you turn over a portion of your board, you really are in effect having a whole new board, even though only half of them changed, or 2 or 3. So then you have a whole new board, and everything that was pending is gone, and you have to start over. So that's one of the reasons why sometimes organizations just have everybody on the same cycle.
Yeah, but
Right.
if I got your question correct, you wanted to have the treasurer a 1 year term and everyone else a 2 year term, or did I get that wrong?
No, we're
That's-
staggered
okay,
now. We
sorry.
have 2, 1, and I would like to, I think,
Okay.
change that so that we have all one. I think
Okay,
it would be
sorry.
better
I
for
didn't
our
realize that.
participation.
Yeah, and then you can put that in your new standing rules, because it won't be in your bylaws, and your standing
Okay.
rules will not be as difficult to change as your bylaws, so that if you change it and you do it for 2 or 3 years and say, this isn't working, we want to go back, you can make that change back much easier than if it was in your bylaws.
Perfect. This is wonderful. Yeah, I love this. Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry for all the questions.
No, I'm glad you're asking questions. So, that's why we're here. Are there anyone else that has questions? I see Michelle unmuted.
I do, yes, thank you. Michelle Hendricks, Barnegat Elementary School president. So going off what Hetty, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, okay, was stating too, we had that same type of situation where a few of our 6th grade moms who are on the board, but everybody else is on a 2-year term. What we opted to do was we just are putting out announcements for our general membership for those open positions, because we were kind of working with Sarita on that in that direction. But my question goes along those positions with the bylaws, because so much has changed for us, because I know Candy and Sharon have been helping us tremendously, as well as Sarita. Having 4 PTAs merge into one, I don't recommend it. I'll be honest. It wasn't as easy. It was a rough year, rough road, but we're trying to make do the best we can. But we notice now that there may be some positions that we have that maybe are no longer needed. So being that we had our official election and our bylaws, like, how does that work for us if we wanted to eliminate positions before they go back into our bylaws and everything's set into stone?
Well, your
I don't
bylaws
even know if this is the right forum to be asking
No,
that, but
it's fine. So
Okay.
here's my suggestion. And again, if anyone parliamentarian or Rose want to chime in, you would have to do right now would be a bylaws change. So those people would finish out their term, and then afterwards you would not be re-electing those positions, except if they would decide that they would resign their position because they were elected for that term.
Right.
But then you would, whatever position is in. So what positions are you talking about? Are these committee positions? I should have asked that first, so I apologize. Committee
No, it's
positions
okay.
or offices?
Officer, for example, here's just one example, the VP we have for Horbelt at the time, They are now an intermediary school. They're an intermediate school. They have officially changed. So now we play the fine line of walking. Do they fall under Brackman, the middle school PTA, or do they stay under our umbrella? And we're trying to meet with Dr. Saxon, the principal, but he's, this is our first year of reconfiguration. It's a mess for the township, but we don't know where we lie in that, because they are technically now officially an intermediate school, and we are an elementary PTA.
Well, now you stumped me, Michelle. So
See,
I'm going to
so-
go to Mary for that one. Because that position really
That's
no
just one
longer
example.
exists.
Yeah, well, I was
Right.
gonna say the new local bylaws, the new local PTA bylaws say that you have to have a president, a vice president, a secretary and treasurer, and any other officers can be specified in your standing rules. So you have to have those four. Now, the
Right.
issue is if they're no longer in the school where that PTA is, then they can't really hold an office unless they're a member of that PTA. But my understanding is you can be a member of a PTA even if you're not in the school. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, but
Right.
they
Yes.
don't have that school anymore, correct?
Oh, the school's gone
The
completely.
school is an intermediate school now, so that's not their PTA anymore. Did
That's what
I
I'm
get that right,
curious.
Michelle?
But,
Well,
but
I
if
don't know,
you-
like-
but if you are in the intermediary school, you still can join the other PTA, right?
That's what I'm asking. If they would still technically under NJPTA guidelines fall under Barnegat Elementary PTA.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
They'd have
Yeah.
to be a member of the
Yeah.
Barnegat. They'd still have to join the Barnegat PTA even if, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not sure, Kathy, but I always understood
Yeah.
that you could
Okay,
belong to any PTA as long as you paid your dues and
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
so it
So,
really falls on the principal then, and whether he wants to go under the middle school or our PTA then.
Right, well, that was my,
Correct,
yeah, so you would
Okay.
think that hopefully, that would, if for this
Oh, you froze, Kathy.
year, I would leave it at that, but then you would have to talk to the principal to see if he wants to open a new PTA for just his school, or he wants to fall under that Barnegat, school PTA, elementary
Okay.
school PTA.
Right, and we also have
And
a,
you can always maybe do a name change, so it's not only elementary, Barnegat Elementary and Intermediate School PTA, so that those parents feel
Oh.
all inclusive, so you're not,
right,
you know,
right, that's a great point. I didn't think
So-
of that. And then, for instance, oh, I'm
sometimes,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm
Lisa.
sorry. If I could just interject quickly, sometimes a PTA can be the ABC PTA and have 3 schools under it without naming the schools separately.
Mhm.
Okay. And then sometimes what I've seen I call it North Jersey because that's where I'm from. They'll have a VP for each school building.
That's what we do.
Okay, so they'll have a president for the PTA, the big umbrella, if you will. Then
Right.
instead of having 3 separate PTAs, they'll have the VP for each school and then have a secretary treasurer for the entire PTA. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So you guys kind of have to decide what you want to be, yeah, or a name change to include both those schools under one PTA and then the middle school has their separate. So lots to think about.
Yes, thank you. I just want to make sure I have all my
yep.
information so I can present it to my board, and we can also talk with the principal and make a
Right.
decision. We also have a bylaws. Now, it's not an officer the way it was written into our bylaws. They are a chair, correct, I think, right?
Right, bylaws
Andy,
is chair, unless you
right.
put in your standing rules that one of your VPs is in charge of bylaws. But that would be a standing rule, even now, that would be a standing rule.
Okay, so
So-
it would be a VP. It wouldn't be a separate chairperson then?
No, it could be, it's usually a
Oh.
separate chairperson, but I'm sorry, I didn't express myself correctly. But some PTAs like to have a VP in charge of that. So that's what I'm saying. So you wouldn't put that in your bylaws, you would put vice president in your bylaws, and then in your standing rules, what the VPs are in charge of.
Okay,
Or
so we
you
may
could
have to
just-
make some adjustments to our bylaws.
Yeah, or just make a bylaws chairman, that's all. Most
Mhm.
PTAs do a bylaws chairman.
Right. But that goes in standing, like you said, standing rules.
yes, all your
Correct.
committee chairs are now in your
Yes.
standing rules.
Right.
Right. Thank you so much for the clarification. I really
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Is there any other questions? I think we got questions from everyone except for Kevin, Quinn, and Davina. So do you guys have any questions?
This is Kevin Quinn. I'm on the PTAC Bylaws Committee for Montclair. I don't have any questions. The presentation I
Okay.
thought was clear. Most of the information will be coming after the 21st, I'm assuming.
As soon as, right, the information will come after the 21st if the bylaws, if this passes. So hopefully, if you're not registered for convention, you will register for convention and come on. And just so that you know, if there's anything, so read over all the bylaw changes, because if there's any amendments you would like to make, we need to get those by Friday morning. Okay, that I believe Friday is the 21st. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for the date. So we need to get that by the 21st in order for us to do that. I just want to make that clear. So again, before then, if you have any other questions, before I get to Davina, because I saw Davina unmuted, if you have any other questions, please, you can email njpta@njpta.org. You can email me, C. Lindenbaum, and I'll put it in the chat at newjerseypta.org. Any of us on the bylaws committee, because we want to answer questions. We want everything to be clear to you, and we want you to understand what you're going to be voting on. And no, it's not too late to register, but in order to vote, you have to register by this Friday, the 14th. You would still be able to register after that, but you wouldn't be able to vote. So
I'll
so
just
that you
jump
know.
in there quick that should be, Rob put the link there to register, but also you should all receive another e-blast tomorrow with all this info again, just maybe in a different little format to get people to read it. And the second thing I would address really quickly is I say give us till June 1st to get those new bylaws out there and the explanation and dates and things, because we're going to come off convention on Sunday, the 23rd, then it becomes Memorial Day weekend. And so I say, look for the official word that first week of June.
Yes,
I think
good idea. Thank you, Lisa,
my
for that.
state
You're right.
companions agree with that thought.
Yes,
I don't want
it'll be
anybody
the-
waiting for them on Monday.
Right, exactly. It'll be the first week in June. We have to give our
Okay.
convention people a little bit of a rest. And then Davina, last but not least. Hi, Davina.
Hi, no, I'm good. I don't have any questions. Like Kevin said, everything was pretty much cut and dry. So,
Okay, great.
look forward to the convention.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing
Yay.
everyone. Is there anything else before we say goodnight? Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and hopefully I'll see everyone at convention.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
night.
See you at convention.
Thank you.
Thank